Welcome, everybody. It Talks for the People, episode 42. Man, 10 episodes away from a year's worth of episodes. It's hard to believe we've been doing that this long already. How y'all doing this week?
Doing good, doing good. The weather is cooling down a little bit, and I'm enjoying it. What about you, Cody?
Same thing, man. The weather cooling down just a little bit. It feels good. It's starting to feel like football weather. Uh, it was really nice last weekend watching all the games and seeing football again. Some normalcy to life. Fans in the stands.
Yes,
Fun Saturday.
absolutely. And that's what we are going to talk about this week. Football is back. And as we like to refer to them around these parts, it is a Saturday down south. I know this doesn't affect our release schedule, but for us, it is Saturday morning. We're doing our best to keep these episodes coming out on Sunday for you. But today we are talking about the return of college football. We are headed into week 2 today, and we are going to be discussing some of the stuff that happened in week 1 of college football. As Cody said, fans are back in the stands. I know we're mainly focused on the SEC, but one thing that I love to see, although the school's escaping me right now and all the college football fans are going to want to punch me for more reasons than my shirt, but who is that school that Kirk Herbstreit posted the video of Enter Sandman and they just pop off? What school is that uses Enter Sandman?
Wasn't it Wisconsin?
Was it Wisconsin?
I think it was. They were doing like the wave too, wasn't they?
Yeah, like they were doing Virginia. It's Virginia Tech that does Enter Sandman.
Oh.
But
I saw a video of Wisconsin this week too. They were doing the wave or jump around or something, and that place was just going crazy.
Yeah, but Virginia Tech, when they play that Enter Sandman, you got the Metallica, boom, 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 they got the bass boom, and they got it blowing through the whole entire stadium, just da 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 da, and then right as it hits the the team runs out on the field. Man, just all those fans were going completely crazy, as they were across most of college football. Everybody's glad to be back.
On that same note, let me tell you a quick story. Last night I was at a high school football game refereeing, and I won't name the school or anything, but when the home team was going to run out of the tunnel, the Undertaker song come on, and it's the old school one, yeah, with the organ, and then I turn around and the team's coming out of the tunnel and they got the white. The dry ice, white smoke coming up, and it's with that music playing. I was like, "Oh, that is awesome!" And then every time they had a third down or during a timeout, they would play Stone Cold's music. You'd hear the glass break, and they had a nice sound system there too. There's big speakers, and it was like, I'm like, yeah, let's go, baby.
It almost makes you wonder how good. It almost makes you wonder how good that school's wrestling team is.
Yeah, it was awesome.
That's pretty cool. I like it when high schools can have fun with it too, man.
I'll tell you too, I'll count on that same note. I was doing a game on Halloween night several years ago, 7, 8 years ago, and the power goes out at halftime. Like we're back on the field, we're doing our 3-minute warm up for the teams before the second half, and these two teams hate each other. And we've had problems the whole game, and the lights go out in the stadium, like the power just cuts off, and it is pitch black dark. And I swear on everything I can, after about a minute of it being dark, somebody played on the loudspeaker the Halloween song. I was like, I'm going home. I got to get out of here.
That's,
Really funny.
that's awesome, though.
Yeah.
So, as I stated, as y'all know, we're all from Alabama. We're deep in the heart of SEC country. Two of us had good weeks last week. We'll go ahead and get the painful bit out of the way. Steven.
Yeah, so Vandy and LSU were the only two teams that lost.
Yeah. So Steven, let's
Company.
look. We've ribbed you at work. You've already called it. It's week 2. Week 1's gone, so fresh start. But let's get your honest take on what you saw week 1. Let's all jokes aside. What's your honest take on week 1? How's LSU looking this year as a whole? Was UCLA, should they have been ranked going into the game? What was your take on the game?
My honest take, week 1 is the only team that played a team better than UCLA is Georgia, and that was Clemson. Miami's garbage, and everybody else played cupcakes. I would like to point that out to start this off with. But I'm not saying UCLA is going to be a great team, but UCLA is on the rise from what they have been for the past years. Chip Kelly is not a coach you really goof around with. I mean, if anybody remembers Chip Kelly from his Oregon days, Oregon was balling. I mean, they were in the national championship against Auburn at one point in time. So Chip Kelly's no pushover coach. That being said, I like Ed O, but he got outcoached. He did. He absolutely did. If you looked at UCLA week 1, you saw they played Hawaii, or week 0 is what they called it. But they played Hawaii, and they ran the ball 90% of the game. They might have passed the ball 6 times all game. And LSU watched that footage, and they thought, hey, look, all we got to do is stop the run. They ain't finna throw the ball. Sure enough, first quarter, we stopping the run. We look great. Man, they can't move the ball for nothing. I think they had like -4 yards going into the second quarter. And then Chip Kelly opened up the playbook. Next thing you know, there's tight end doing crossing routes. The wide receivers are doing crossings and drop backs. And that dude, that our secondary and linebacker group looked absolutely and utterly confused. So defensively, we didn't know what was going on. We were moving the ball a little bit here and there offensively, but young quarterback getting his first season start. He started 2 last year, but he's young. He's not reading blitzes very well, and UCLA was throwing it all. I mean, you got to think UCLA in their conference, they're probably not going to play a team. LSU might not be a great team this year, but UCLA, talent-wise, might not play a team as good as LSU has on their roster, like an Alabama or an Auburn or a Florida or a Georgia. I mean, UCLA in their entire conference might not see talent like that all year. So I can understand 100% Chip Kelly's like, look, I don't care what we got to do. We open up the playbook. We're going to show every play we have for the year. If we can beat them, we'll be in good shape. So, I mean, I think UCLA might not be a great team. They might go, 9-3. Something of that nature. But I think LSU just got out coached, and we weren't ready for it. You could tell the new coaching staff that we got, it was not ready to make adjustments. Live time game. They started 4 or 5 months ago. I mean, they really worked hard to find the best coaching staff they could, but they didn't have since last season to work with the new guys coming in and all that other stuff. So, I mean, we were unprepared. We got out coached, just a little bit of everything. I think LSU, you give them 3 to 4 weeks. Hopefully it doesn't take 4 weeks because Auburn is coming to town. And right now, I don't think we could beat an Auburn team. Not saying that. I mean, Auburn, I think, is going to have a great squad this year, but I'm still not convinced with Auburn completely yet. Their first game being Akron. I mean, that was expected, of course. If it would have been, 35-0, people would have been like, wow, only 35 against Akron, so but a couple weeks of Auburn doing that is going to make them very scary to look at, especially when they come to town. So I think ultimately the bigger picture, LSU has McNeese State and then another cupcake right behind that before we get into Mississippi State as a warm-up before Auburn. If we can get our poop in a group, I mean, I think we can. Talent-wise, I don't see why we couldn't contend. Of course, I don't think anybody. Alabama probably wins it again. But I don't see why Alabama could not, or LSU couldn't make it a 2-possession game against Alabama, even though they lose. I can't see why LSU couldn't beat the other teams in their schedule. They just really have a lot to put together and figure out as a team before they start taking that talent and doing something with it.
Well, hey, I'll tell you this: Alabama has traditionally struggled against LSU at home, and y'all are coming to Bryant Denny this year. So, I mean, I'm inclined to agree with you. UCLA, Chip Kelly came with a game plan. It wasn't working. He was the first to adapt. I won't put it past Ed O to be ready for that next time. He is a good coach. Say what you will. I know. Give credit where it's due. He is a good coach. He's going to have to learn to adapt, lest he become another Les Miles, who once again was a good coach. But if his initial game plan didn't work out, he didn't seem very adaptable in the past. Anyway.
Well, my biggest thing is, along with saying Alabama will probably win it again, it's very difficult to say because someone made the comparison this week. The other thing I don't want to happen, it cannot happen, it will not happen, please don't happen, is I do not want Ed O to be the next Gene Chizik. Have a decent season, win a championship, be trash. In that order, 3 seasons in a row, he's gone. I'm like, oh, come on, please don't do this.
Hey, I know we talked a lot, Stephen, you and I, before leading into last week, and we both said that was going to be a really tough match for LSU to go across country. But I tell you what, I give LSU a lot of props that they went to California to play a football game. You don't see too many teams from the Southeast travel at all. Everybody does these the neutral site games.
Yeah.
And like Auburn next week, they're going to Penn State. That's pretty good travel too. So that which is going to be an extremely tough match, extremely tough environment for Auburn next week. But you know, the biggest thing I've learned over the years about week 1 in football is nobody's as bad as they look, and nobody's as good as they look in week 1. You kind of have to take it with a grain of salt and look at the next couple of weeks and see how all the teams are. So.
Yep.
Now, that being said, also, Cody, I know y'all, I know your team, I know Auburn was playing a bunch of Acorns, but y'all got a new coach. Y'all got Brian Harsin now coaching you, came from Boise State.
Yeah.
So, 2 questions. How do you think y'all look? Because I know it's hard to judge when you're in the SEC or any major conference and you're playing a team like Acorn. But how do you think Auburn looked, and how long until y'all are playing on an orange field?
We will never, ever play on an orange field. I can tell you that. Not a lot of people believe it, but Auburn is just as stubborn as Alabama about tradition. I mean, Auburn's helmet has looked the same for as long as Alabama's has. So they're not gonna. There's no way we're having an orange field. And if they do, I'll have to find another team. I guess I'll be a UAB fan. Now Hartman, I think they looked. I didn't get to watch it. It wasn't on TV. It was on I guess the app ESPN Plus or whatever. I didn't get to watch it, but I watched the highlights and everything, and they looked good. I mean, I think they did exactly what they needed to do against Acorn, and put six. Just like Steven said, if they'd have beat them 35-0, which is a good solid win, everyone would be like, "Well, you put 35 points on Akron." So from to hang 60 on them, I think it looked good, and Bo had a good day. So I mean, I don't care who you're playing. If you're playing Akron, if you're playing Alabama, you're playing Good Hope. If to go 20 or 22 is still really good. That's solid numbers. Just under 300 yards, I think. A couple of touchdowns. he spread the ball out. I didn't even recognize half the guys he threw it to. Looking at the stat sheet, so they spreading the ball around. Tank had a good day. He had a little over 100 yards and a couple touchdowns. Had another guy, I think Shivers, maybe had a good day as well. So I thought they looked good. I mean, they got should be a cakewalk today with Alabama State, another stat building day. And then we got a big travel next week to Penn State. We'll see what this team's all about.
So Bo Nix passed to 9 different receivers.
Yeah, that's good. I like to see that because it when you start throwing to one guy all the time, it makes it really easy on the defense.
Yep.
Right.
To hone in on somebody. So, and
now
it sounds like they're catching the ball, which is unusual for Auburn. Usually we have we have one guy that's good, and the rest of them can't catch a cold. So can't catch COVID.
So y'all know me personally, and I've always tried to be the type of Alabama fan that's not the a-hole that everybody hates. I like to give y'all trouble. That's all just friends and jest. That's us talking at work. But I want y'all's opinion on something I saw last week. It was an acquaintance of mine. Now, granted, he is one of the a-hole Alabama fans, but I was watching the game last week and I saw his comment. He said, Alabama looks to have one of the best teams this year that they've had in probably 5 or 6 years. And if you are not an Alabama fan, you should be scared. What's y'all's opinion on a hot take like that week 1 of the season? I'm honestly, they did look good, but like you said, Miami's not a stellar standout team. We were not in the game of the week. This was not a 5 versus top 5 game of the week, Georgia versus Clemson. Alabama did look good last week, but like you said, it was Miami. What y'all's take on that particular opinion?
Well, I'll tell you this: Miami talked a lot of shit going into that game. And that's really dumb of them. You don't do that, especially with Alabama, because they need any more motivation. And I think it went exactly how I thought it was going to go. When that quarterback, Garrett King, was talking about they're just going to stomp Alabama, they're going down, all this stuff. I'm like, oh man, that's not good. You're about to get about 10 sacks. So I don't know. Hot takes are exactly what they are. They're just to get publicity, to get people talking. That guy. I think every fan base has those people that say that. I'm gonna have to see more to say they're better than the best team they've had in 5 or 6 years. They've had some really really good teams. Hell, the couple years ago when they had was it Tua's first year starting, and they had Devontae Smith. What was the year they beat Georgia in the or no, it was the year after they beat Georgia.
Right.
I think they lost either lost in the championship game or didn't make it to the championship game, but they had a hell of a season. I mean, it was just crazy good numbers.
Yep.
So that's a stretch to say they're going to be the best in 5 or 6 years, but he could be right. I know that quarterback's got a lot of money riding on him. He's a multi-millionaire already from the name and likeness stuff. So
yeah,
we'll see how it goes.
Look, I've told other people if that stuff starts playing a big part in the season, I don't know if I can mentally take it. Like, I'm trying to enjoy the football season and let all that just be on the back burner. But that being said, Bryce Young was looking good as a quarterback. He's another one that sat there. He's bided his time. He's looking good. He's looking solid. The one thing I'm more excited about, do y'all realize that Alabama now has a field goal kicker that is perfect in every appearance, every time he has stepped on the field?
Yeah, he's a boss. It's been 100 years since Alabama's had one of those. So I'm sure
Yeah.
it's nice. So somebody you don't have to pucker up your butthole when they get on the field because you're like, oh, we're about to miss another one.
See, now I know how Auburn felt for years. It's like, hey, we don't mind how many we have to kick a bunch of field goals because we know we're going to make them for the most part. So,
well, I'll say this about the game, and if you might not be in the SEC watching this, you might be, but especially if you're in the SEC and you have kept an eye on the SEC teams, you know Alabama. Alabama does not get challenged by talent. Alabama gets challenged by good coaching. And unfortunately, Nick Saban is probably arguable for some, but is the best college football coach and has been for the past 10 years. Even with Dabo Swinney being over there and him having a good stretch, I think Trevor Lawrence was most of that, to be honest, the last 3 or 4 years. As you can see, the offense flopped on the first game this season without him. So, but not, this isn't to take anything away from Alabama, but Miami hasn't been relevant for the past 10, maybe more years. Miami hasn't been pulling in talent for the past 10, maybe more years, just like because Florida's been pulling in, Georgia's been pulling in. You had Lane Kiffin down there with
Florida Atlantic.
Florida Atlantic probably pulling recruits that Miami could have gotten, but Lane Kiffin's just a good recruiter. So, I mean, you look at things like that. Miami being ranked going into the season, I think the only reason they gave them that number is to make the Alabama game important for the beginning of the season. Miami just has not had a great team. But that being said, it's not to take away from Alabama because Alabama was going to come prepared with Nick Saban. Alabama was going to have the talent for Nick Saban. And Alabama was going to put up points and have a good defense. I mean, he all-around team. Alabama has it every year. So they were going to do what they were going to do regardless. The only thing, in my opinion, that would have kind of signified to me, hey, this team is one of the best teams that we've had that we might have in the last 5-6 years is a stretch in my opinion because they didn't play a good challenging coached with a decent amount of talent team. They didn't play a Georgia with good coaching staff. They didn't play Clemson with good coaching staff. Maybe an Ohio State that has an all right coaching staff, but they're loaded with talent. Or, I'm not convinced quite that way yet because Miami, in my opinion, isn't one of those teams to push Alabama in the direction of saying what they are and what they aren't. They were just a team that to be rolled over. But they're just like Tennessee. They have a name because at one point in time they were a juggernaut. I mean, people were afraid to play Miami like people are afraid to play Alabama now. But it has been 10 plus years since that happened. So they might have given them a number for the respect of who the program is, but I'm not convinced Miami. I mean, heck, didn't Miami lose to Duke last year? I might be correct. Have to be corrected on that. But Miami lost a couple of games last year. I was like, yo, why? But yeah, I just that like I said. That being said, I'm not extremely convinced with Miami to push Alabama's name in the direction of they could be one of the best they've been in a while. Is really just another pushover team to start the season with.
They did not lose to Duke last year. They beat Duke 48-0. Last year they lost to Florida. They lost to UNC.
That's Carolina, the Tar Heels.
They had a lot of close ones. Yeah. They lost to Clemson, but that one was expected.
Yeah.
They didn't lose that.
Probably lost 3 or 4 games last year.
They beat UAB. They beat Louisville. They beat Florida State. They lost to Clemson. They beat Pittsburgh. They beat Virginia. They beat North Carolina State. They beat Virginia Tech. They beat Duke. They lost to UNC. And they lost to Oklahoma State. And that was a bowl game. Oklahoma State.
Okay. Well, So that, I mean,
Well,
they had a
you're
decent season last year, but everybody agrees the ACC right now is Clemson and everybody else. I mean, the gap between Clemson and the rest of the teams aren't here. It's like here. So, but yeah, like I said, I don't want to take anything away from Alabama. Alabama is going to have a great squad every year, especially Nick Saban's there. But I just don't think Miami was that team to push Alabama to say, oh, this is going to be the best team we've had the past 5 years.
Right.
Miami, to me, doesn't provide enough challenge for Alabama to justify that point.
Hopefully, if we go out of the SEC for just a second, just touch on some of these big games we had. You had an absolute pillow fight between Wisconsin and Penn State. Neither one of them wanted to win the game. The biggest game of the week was
Ohio State, Minnesota.
Was Georgia and Clemson, and that was a real. If you like old school football, that was really good football to watch. Good, just two solid defenses, and I'm not convinced that they're bad offenses. I just think you had two really good defenses,
Right.
and the only reason that changes in nowadays football is when you have an elite quarterback, and neither one of those teams have an elite quarterback. It's just like when Alabama and Clemson had the shootout a few years ago. Hell, both their defenses were fantastic, but they both had elite quarterbacks, and that makes a big difference. And you had Notre Dame. This is my favorite game of the weekend. Notre Dame, Florida State game. Super good game. If y'all missed that game, that was one of the best games I've watched in a long time. Huge, like 18-point comeback in the fourth quarter for Florida State. Go to overtime. The guy makes a 51-yard field goal, but they had to they stopped the play while he was kicking it to go back and review. They reviewed the previous play, and it was an incomplete pass instead of a fumble. So now he's only got like a 30-yard field goal, and he misses it.
Oh, I
And then
missed
Florida
that.
State, and then Notre Dame goes 3 and out and kicks a field goal and wins the game. But yeah, that was like when he made the 51-yarder and they blew it dead to review. I was like, he's gonna if he moves it up, he's gonna miss it. And he sure enough, he did. He just snap hooked the crap out of it. It wasn't even close. It looked like one of Alabama's kicks from before 2 years ago, before Rocker got there.
Speaking of some stuff outside the. Go
Point
ahead.
out the Minnesota Ohio State game. Ohio State had all they could handle in the first game of the season too. That was very interesting to watch, and I'm sure half the country was crossing their fingers like, please kick Ohio State's tail.
Speaking of other stuff outside of the SEC, that was a very enjoyable game to watch. Tulane had been misplaced out of their home. It was supposed to be a home game. Hurricane Ida kind of came in and changed the plans on everybody. Tulane actually traveled up to Tuscaloosa. Nick Saban and Alabama opened up the Alabama practice facilities to them all week.
Oh, wow.
So they were practicing. Yeah, they were practicing at Alabama's indoor facility. And then I don't know if you watched much of the game, but it was supposed to be a Tulane home game. So Oklahoma had their OU at midfield, but on the 25-yard line, they had painted Tulane's logo, and they gave Tulane the shady side of the field, the home side of the field for the game. So all this is to say that, like, you can still be kind to one another in college football. And that being said, on top of all this, I mean, even if this had been a Tulane home game, I think the general consensus was that Oklahoma was gonna win this relatively easily overall, and Tulane came in with a whole different attitude, man. Like,
Bro, yeah, they almost gave him the business. I was like,
Tulane, I promise you, I believe this wholeheartedly. If they had gotten that after they recovered the onside kick at the end of the game, if they had gotten those 2 yards and gotten that first down, and that Tulane quarterback would have gotten one more chance, a fresh set of downs, because they still had 2 timeouts. If they would have gotten a fresh set of downs and let him get 1 or 2 passes off, Tulane wins that game.
I agree. They had him. This is how far they were off of that first down to continue the drive. Yeah, those are the games we like to watch for, like the Appalachian State, Michigan, and the Tulane, Oklahoma, like the underdog games when you're not watching your own team.
Shoot, I completely forgot what I was gonna say about that game. Dang it! It just right out the door.
All right.
Well, just to kind of wrap up all of the games in the SEC, because I know I'm LSU, Cody's Auburn, Allen's Alabama. You know, we have more fans out there, so you know I'm gonna get the scoreboard out and just go through all of them real quick.
Yeah, I was gonna say what we got. Go over last week's game, and then we'll just look at what games we got. Top 25. What games to look out for today?
All right. Well, Tennessee's back. They beat Bowling Green 38-6. Alabama beat Miami 44-13. Auburn beat Akron 60-10. Florida beat FAU 35-14, which they struggled for the first half. I was sitting there wondering, I was like, yo, why is it only like 14-0? Like it's at halftime against FAU. LSU lost to UCLA 27-38. Kentucky beat Louisiana Monroe 45-10. Arkansas beat Rice 38-17. Mississippi State beat Louisiana Tech 35-34. Boy, they were scraping on that one. I can't wait to play Mississippi State. LSU might not be good, but I think we can get this one. But Missouri beat Central Michigan 34-24. South Carolina is back also 46-0 against Eastern Illinois. Georgia beat Clemson. I was so proud of Georgia. They finally
I was very proud of Georgia.
10-3 against Clemson. Texas A&M is going to beat Alabama because they beat Kent State 41-10. They're convinced of that anyhow. Vanderbilt beat ETSU. Oh no, I'm sorry. They lost to ETSU 3-23. And then Ole Miss beat Louisville 43-24. So that was last week's SEC roundup. Just everything that happened last week. Per Cody earlier, what a jerk for bringing it up. The only 2 SEC teams to lose were LSU and Vanderbilt. And that sucks. But we're coming back with a vengeance, baby.
Auburn was in the same boat 4 or 5 years ago. I remember we were having a yard sale at our house, the only one we've ever had, and that day Auburn played Vandy and lost to Vandy. I think that was James Franklin's last year there or something like that when they went like 10-2 at Vandy.
Yeah,
and I was like, and I think we were us and maybe like Missouri or something, the only 2 SEC teams that lost that week. Like, and we lost to Vandy.
So what hurts more, that or the 3-2 game against Mississippi State?
Oh, losing to Vandy. We won the 3-2 game. Okay, we fucking won that one.
I will never forget that because the next week everybody was like, "Wait, baseball has started? Auburn, Mississippi State, 3-2? Like, what's going on?" I thought baseball was another like 2 or 3 months away. I don't get it.
It can't be hockey. You don't have hockey in Auburn.
Actually, they do, but the whole SEC's got hockey, and you can usually catch them at Pelham Civic Complex. That's where Alabama plays. I'm telling you, you need to come to the Iron Cup. Alabama versus Auburn in hockey. Alabama's undefeated. Absolutely.
You use me a good hockey wiener and popcorn.
All right, that being said, we'll get off hockey right now. Big games today. Looking at today's schedule, only going to go over some of the big games because there's not a lot in the SEC, but we have Oregon at Ohio State. Who y'all got? Ohio State going in as a 14.5-point favorite.
For me personally, I hope Ohio State covers. But if they're not going to cover, I would love if Oregon went in there and beat them. That would be great.
I actually picked Oregon because I think Oregon wins outright. I don't think they're just covering the spread here. Oregon looked way better last week than Ohio State did. Ohio State needs to figure some things out because there's no way that game should have been the way it was.
Ooh, going with the outright win. I like it.
All right, just because they're the hometown boys, we've got UAB traveling over to Georgia. Now, I'm sure we're all in agreement that Georgia is going to win this game, but UAB's been getting better over the past few years, and Georgia is a 22.5-point favorite. Do you think they cover, or does UAB stand a chance to stay in this game?
Hey, let me say this. That line opened closer to 30. So that line has moved a lot, and that means there's a ton of money going on UAB. So you should probably bet Georgia. That's the way it usually goes. But I personally think that UAB is going to keep it within the spread, and I can see it being like a 31-10 game or 31-14 kind of game. I think UAB's scrappy, man. They got a good defense, so we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I'll be pulling for them, not just because I don't like Georgia, but I'm a UAB alum, so let's go Blazers. Let's do it.
Yeah, I'm actually going with UAB to cover the spread for this one too. I think UAB is going to be a lot more gritty than people think. Then you're going to have the Georgia hangover, which brings me to my next point. I got two really good friends that are Georgia fans. Really good friends that are Georgia fans that are going to hate me for saying this. But it would not surprise me if, the typical Georgia way is to either do something really good or mess something up really bad. And it would not surprise me if after winning last week, them turn around and just deer in the headlights and lose to UAB. I don't see that happening, but it would if it happened, I wouldn't be like, what? I would be like, yeah, that's typical Georgia.
No, I agree. I don't think UAB wins this one, but I do think they cover the spread. 14-point game at the most, I think. Elsewhere, we have Iowa State today. Iowa State, 4.5-point favorite.
I cannot remember who I picked in this game, but I think I do like Iowa State. No, one of these teams hasn't won in the last 5 or 6 years against the other team. I can't remember which one it is, but I went with the upset for that stat, but I can't remember who it was. I'll have to look it up. Can't remember who I took.
As we discussed, Auburn has Alabama State. Alabama has Mercer. Who's LSU playing? They're not in this top 25 list. I'm sorry, Steven.
McNeese State.
McNeese, okay.
They play McNeese State, an in-state team that should be a good 45-10 if that win. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if just to prove a point and get the offense going if Ed O tried to put up 60 because he needs to do something with that offense.
All right, back in the SEC, we have an unranked Arkansas facing off against Texas at home. Texas is only a 6.5-point favorite, ranked at number 15 against an unranked Arkansas. Who y'all got?
Future SEC game right here, boys. Texas and Oklahoma are joining the SEC. This is a future SEC game.
Yep.
I am going with the Razorbacks. I think they keep this extremely tight and might even win the game outright. That is a scrappy little bunch in Arkansas.
So on my sheet, I chose Texas because I think Texas overall probably has a more talented team. But I would really like to see Arkansas go into this, be like, y'all want to come here to the SEC and think y'all are going to enjoy this? and then upset them. I would love to see Arkansas do that. But
Look,
at the same time, I wouldn't, because I don't want to see Arkansas ranked and LSU not. So.
but look at this though. But look at this though. Can you imagine Oklahoma Texas being one of the two teams to make a big stink and wanting to come and join the SEC where the big boys play football, and then they get beat by one of the teams that's almost a joke at this point in our conference.
Yeah. They are butt end of
Texas.
No pun intended,
Texas is going to be saying, "Hey, Pac-12, we think we want to come to the other side of the country." I mean,
yeah, we changed our mind. Can we unsign that contract, please?
All right, look, I am calling it. I'm going to just go ahead and make a call right now. Arkansas wins this game outright.
That's all right.
There we go. That's your underdog pick.
That's my underdog pick of the year.
Pick of the year. Wow, we're in week 2.
When you follow a lot of these forums and stuff for betting on football and stuff, they always have these upset of the year, or this is our underdog of the year pick. It's like, and then I have one again next week. It's like, well, then it's not of the year. It's like of the week. It's like a running joke.
Well, that looks like it's about it for significant games in the top 25. Y'all got anything else y'all want to discuss this week before we wrap it up this week?
I mean, I'm excited for football to be back. Hey, in the comments down below, let us know what's your favorite team. Who are you looking forward to watching every week in and week out of this football season? Let us know what you think about the name, image, likeness. I don't think either three of us are fans of it. We think it's going to ruin college football. But hey, if it doesn't, that's fantastic. We still get to enjoy our game. But comment. Let us know what y'all think about all of it. Go Tigers, of course. We're coming back with a vengeance, baby. Don't let one game ruin you.
Hey, before we go, we do have one SEC game this week, an actual SEC game. Missouri and Kentucky are playing each other. I think that's going to be kind of similar to a. Did y'all have a powder puff football game in school where the cheerleaders played football? That's kind of how this game is going to be.
You remember what is it, like 10 years ago? Kentucky went on like a 10-2 season. I'm getting that vibe from Kentucky this season. It would not surprise me if Kentucky loses like 2 or 3 games this season, ends up having a really good season, and being 3rd or 4th on our side instead of 7th. But who knows?
I think it's like a 4.5 point spread on that game, so probably pretty good game, probably in 24-20 kind of game.
Yeah.
Kentucky is a 5.5 point favorite. Man, y'all, Vandy is a 7-point dog to Colorado State.
How bad is Vandy?
Yeah,
Colorado State is like, all right, look, the bottom of the rung, you got like Rutgers, okay? And then you got Colorado State. And you're a 7-point dog to Colorado State.
I feel that an SEC policy should be that the only way you can stay in the SEC is if you stay within the top 50. You have to be in the top half of all the college football teams to be in the SEC. And Vanderbilt, I think out of 119 teams, is probably 120. Like, they intentionally boot themselves out of Division One. Is that how bad they play? Like, why?
I tell you what, though, you know what Vandy does for the SEC? They bring the overall conference GPA up.
Yeah, this is true.
And our 3 schools, we need it.
Yeah. Especially them gibberish speaking Cajuns down there. I mean,
we're multilingual. We can speak English and Cajun French. That's a talent.
How many corn dogs are you going to eat today, Stephen?
87. That's how many points we're putting up on them.
Woo. It's a lot of corn dogs.
Yeah,
You going like you going like the frozen ones that are like this long, or you going with the conies that you get at the Spare?
these baby, of course.
Look, he's getting the Coney corn dogs and a keg of Yingling, and he's just going to become a sloppy mess when they lose today.
We actually grow them out back.
Baby.
We actually grow them out back. I have a little lake, and they just grow out in the lake, and I'll just grab one, put mustard, string of mustard on it, and bite into it.
Oh, God, this is fun. You know what? We might have during football season. I know we're not going to focus every full-length episode on football. We try not to do that, but if y'all are available most Saturday mornings, we might need to do a bite size, a 10 to 15 minute football release every week on the morning of the games. Do our own little college game day, SEC style.
I feel good about it.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
We'll have to look at it. We'll get up early, record that, and get it up same day.
Balls.
Cool deal. Y'all have a wonderful day. Enjoy your football. I know Steven's got some stuff to do today. We woke up early to do this. I'm probably going to go take a little bit of a nap before these games kick off. It's morning time. It's almost 10 o'clock now, but I got up early because I wake up early all week. Anyway, rambling again. Y'all got to get me to shut up. Y'all got anything else y'all want to say this week?
Go Tigers.
War Eagle and Miles Kennedy is going to be in Jasper, Alabama tonight. I'll be going to see that. Probably have a bite size maybe come out this week about it. I'll do a little 5-minute review of the concert. May have a little footage of it or something. We'll see how it goes. But since this comes out the day after, I can't tell you to try to come out. But anyway, I'll just say ahead of time that it was a lot of fun. Okay. Anyway, we'll go and have a great day.
While we're talking about Miles, we all have a mutual friend named Miles, and let's just go ahead and say that he is trash at picking games.
Yeah, F that guy.
Oh, we will have to show him this on Monday. Y'all have a good week. Everybody have fun. Comment, like, subscribe. Let us know what you're looking forward to this college football season. Let us know what you want to hear us talk about in future episodes. And as usual, everybody have a great week and rock on.
Peace out.
See y'all.